What's up, everybody? We're back from hibernation. My name's Randy. Of course, this is the 5.5 Garage, and today I'll be talking about gauges and why you should be interested in adding a set to your own car. Okay, so it's been a pretty long winter. I have stacked up boxes and boxes apart. I couldn't wait to get back out here. So today I'm going to be working on the Mazdaspeed 3. And if this is the first video you've seen on this channel, let me say hello and welcome to you. And somewhere around in here, I will have a link to the playlist that shows all of the previous mods I have made to this car. But if you're an OG, if you're one of the Boost fam, if you have been following me from day one on here and on Instagram, if you have been following the channel, and you should be following the channel, you know I've already done a lot of mods to this car, mostly bolt-ons. The last video I added a JBR rear sway bar and added some Moog inlets. But today we're going to be doing something on the interior of the car. There are a few more pieces that I need to add to this car so I can begin my tuning this summer. And one of the things I'm going to address today is knowing what the engine is doing. So I decided to add a set of gauges from AEM. I'm going to add wideband AFR gauge, and then I have a boost gauge over here. Now, I got these used and I got a really good deal on them, but I will leave some links down into the description to the AEM site so you can see how much a set of these will cost. So I did buy my gauges used and they didn't come with the wiring. But fortunately, you can go onto the AEM website, and if you have the part number, you can buy replacements for everything. So I got the solenoid and the wiring that goes for the boost gauge. Also got an extra power wire, and this is the wiring that goes to the AFR gauge. It also comes with a extra wideband O2 sensor. So you can get all of that stuff off of the AEM website, and if you have a situation where you were to damage any of this stuff, you can get replacements from there as well. One of the reasons why I want to add an extra set of gauges in the car is I already have a cob access port, and I can set that up to show me my AFRs and my boosts. I already have it set up like that. But as I begin the tuning process, I'm going to want to add some extra sensors to my access port to keep track of so I can do logging. And it's really nice to be able to just look down and see what my boost is and what my AFRs are. So when I added my downpipe in an earlier video, I made sure to get a downpipe that has extra bungs on it. This is one of the reasons why I'll be able to add in the O2 sensor for my AFR gauge as well. I can also add in an exhaust gas temperature sensor later on. So this is really not that hard to install. The hardest part probably will be getting the wires ran from the engine compartment into the passenger compartment and just doing some simple wiring. Now, when it comes to wiring all of this in, I'm not going to splice any lines, and I actually picked up something that will help make this process a whole lot easier. One of the ways we're going to make the wiring in the car easier is by using these. These are known as adder circuits, and you can usually pick these up from your local auto parts store. They run in price anywhere from like $5 to $8 a piece, but I ordered these off of Amazon, and these are what's known as a mini, or I think there's a low profile, and these are the type of adder circuits you need to use. The other ones will not fit, so make sure if you're going to order these, and I'll leave a link down in the description to these as well, but make sure you get these specific ones or they will not fit. And basically it has the fuse block where you put the fuse for the original circuit that you're going to replace in with the new fuse, and it already has the crimped in on the other. You just unplug the fuse from the fuse box, plug this in its place, put the other one in, and you run your lines to it. It makes it very simple. I've researched, and there's two ways of running wires into the passenger compartment. The first one is to use the grommet down by the steering column, and I think I'm going to try that one first, just because everything that I am going to be doing today is on the driver's side of the car, and that should just make it just an easier run of wire to get it into where I need it to go. If I find I'm having trouble with that, the second method is to remove the glove box on the passenger side. There is a grommet there, and then you can run it by the AC lines that come into the passenger compartment. I really do not want to have to drill holes into my firewall. That is probably not going to be necessary for this. I think one of those two ways will be sufficient for what I have to do. And hopefully, I don't get too frustrated and this just turns into a way longer project than I really think it should be. So let's get to it. Okay, so project update. It seems I've hit a little snag. As what can happen with these things, there is an issue with the sensor for the boost gauge. It is a 1/8 by 27 MPT fitting. Unfortunately, the Shure Motorsports airport vacuum box I put on the car, the fitting's on the wrong size, and I could sit here and kind of butcher together this setup, but I want to do it as cleanly as possible, so I am just gonna stop filming right here. I went to the auto parts store. I tried to see if I could find an adapter of some kind that would allow me to do this without having to get a tap, run the risk of somehow getting little metal shards anywhere near that system, especially since it's in the vacuum lines and whatnot. So I've decided I'm just going to order a new vacuum box. It's only going to take like 2 days to get here, so today is Wednesday. I should have this Friday. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to rain on Friday, so Saturday is looking like a really great day. It's supposed to be clear and sunny and warm, so I'm going to pick up the video on that day, and hopefully I will have everything I need when we start back up. So for you guys, it's just going to be through the magic of editing, like time will magically pass, but I will pick this up in like 3 days. Welcome back, everybody, to the second attempt of trying to install these gauges on my car. If you know from the previous little clip I just showed, I experienced a little bit of a setback, but I have ordered new parts. Everything is here, and hopefully we can go ahead and finish it this time. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a quick little update just to show you what has happened. If you follow along with the story on my Instagram, you saw that the vacuum box that I got on the car from Shure Motorsports, the AEM gauge boost sensor would not thread into there because they were different MPT threads. Now I thought about just getting a tap and die and running some threads through it, but I really didn't want to have to do creative engineering for this particular project, so I just broke down and ordered a new one from AEM Performance. And as you can see, it's got the proper 1/8 ports as well as a 3/8 port, and got ports on multiple ends. So this should do nicely. It also comes with new mounting hardware, and I also picked up some of these pipe barbs. So everything should be good from this point of getting the boost sensor installed in the car. And I think what I'm going to start off doing is go ahead and swapping these out, because that's probably going to be the easier part of this project. So I'm going to get started. I just mounted this to the front of the plastic battery box. 2 screws, cement hardware. I did put some blue Loctite on the back of this just in case I didn't want this rattling apart. So the next thing I need to do is I need to put in my fittings, and then wherever there isn't a fitting, I have to put in and use some thread sealer. As this will see boost, I want to make sure that this is not going to leak. Just to reiterate, in case you guys didn't know, these are MPT threads. So the tap will not thread all the way in. You just want to get it where it starts to feel tight, it starts to feel snug, and it starts to get a little bit harder to turn. That's when you want to stop. I figured out a way to get this mounted so everything works correctly. Also, you might have noticed that I had to take the intercooler shroud off, and that was because the vacuum line that I had on there, I wanted to go ahead and switch it to a much larger diameter hose. This is what I switched to. As well, as I was checking my hoses, I noticed that this one here, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I'll come up closer. But this one here, right here, has a little bit of damage to it, and it might have turned into a boost leak. So I'm glad I caught that while I was doing this. I now have room to actually, and this is the wire, this is the wiring, I should say, for the boost gauge, and I now have room to connect this properly without it hitting anything. So the next thing I'm going to do is I need to remake another hose to go here, and then we should be able to move into the car and start running some of the wiring. So now that I have the vacuum box boost sensor situation sorted, the next part is probably going to be the most frustrating part of this whole installation, and that is finding an area on the firewall that I can run these wires through. So here we are underneath the hood. I had to get my handheld camera for this because this is where it starts getting tricky. This is the heat shield, and there's a 10mm nut that goes here. I've already removed it to get it out of the way, and you can just slide that off and kind of bend this out of the way. What I'm going to try to show you is, see that black, looks like a giant plug. That is a pass-through into the passenger compartment. And that is what I'm going to use to be able to run the wires from my gauges into the sensors and back into the car. But the first thing we have to do is, there's a bit of work involved. In order to get that out, we have to remove the glove box first. But to get the glove box out, first thing we need to do is, this panel right here has to come out. So these two little clips, one right here and one right here, you just push them in, and then the panel will drop. And there is a clip that is right there that you need to disconnect. That's for the LED, and you remove that, and then you can take this panel out of the car. Once we have removed that lower panel, next thing we can do is remove the glove box. So first thing is make sure is your glove box is empty. Then you're going to, there's an arm here and there's an arm here, and you're going to pull back on those so that, lightly pull back on them because you don't want to break them. Pull back, and see if I can get them out, and it'll come out like so. And then there's one more arm right here that we can lift up on. This slides out of the way. Now, in order to get the actual glove box section out, there are two bolts you're going to have to remove. One is right here, and the other one is right here in the middle. With the door out of the way, the next step is to actually put your hands in here and pull it towards yourself, and that should unhook the dash and have it move forward. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little light here you need to unclip. I'm gonna have to remove this lower kick panel, but it's as simple. It just has a little body tabs screw that you just have to pull the center out of and pull it out, and then that will come out too. All right, so now with the glove box out of the way, remember that rubber, big rubber puck type disc that I showed you in the engine compartment? This is the back side of it. So the next thing I gotta do is remove this, and as you can see, there's these little like tabs on it, and basically that's going to be a pain to get out, but you just have to push these tabs in and then push as you're pushing these tabs in, and I'm going to use a screwdriver or something to help me manipulate that, and then once you do that, that should pop out, and this is what we're going to end up drilling so we can get our lines into the car. Just to give you guys an idea, I'm using a long flathead screwdriver. I am pushing those tabs in, and as you can see, oh, the plug already came out. So as you can see, that is a clear shot straight into the engine bay. And now I gotta go underneath the hood and grab that so we can do the next step. After you do all that work, this is the plug that pops off the firewall. And it comes off fairly easily once you push the tabs in. It doesn't require a lot of force, so you don't have to like brute strength it to try to get it out. It comes out fairly simple. And you can pull the rubber cover off of it, which just leaves this plastic puck. And I'm going to measure and drill 2 holes in this, one for the AFR gauge wiring and one for the boost gauge wiring. And then I'm just going to make probably 2 small slits in this, run the wires through, and use some sealant on this to seal everything up, so I don't have to worry about any water leaks or anything. I doubt this car doesn't get driven in the rain very much, if any. So this should make running the wires easier. Also, in the future, if I do have to run some more wiring, I can just drill more holes in this and then seal it up for later. So I'm gonna get started on that next. So we got our 2 holes, 1 and 2, and I'm gonna run my lines through, and then I'm going to put the rubber cap back on it, make some slits, and this will be ready to put back in the car with our lines. After some drilling, some dremeling, and getting stuff in my face, you should end up with something that looks like this. Now remember that this side is going to be on the interior of the car, so make sure that your gauge connections are on that side, and everything that goes into the engine compartment is on this side. And installation is fairly simple. Just push your wires through, make sure that your gauge connection wires are inside the car, and just push the grommet back in place. And there we go. As you can see, my lines are now ran through that grommet and are now inside the car. So this is a pretty neat way to be able to run wires into the car without having to drill through the firewall. I know other people have tried using where the hood release cable goes, but if you have the means and enough wire to be able to pull this off, I highly recommend this one. Yeah, you do have to take a bit of the car apart on the inside, but when it's done, your wires can be nice and tucked away and hidden, and it just looks cleaner. So now that I've got that installed, the next part I'm going to move to is to start installing the sensors. If you remember from my downpipe video, one of the reasons I went with the CPE downpipe was because it had the optional extra bungs, and now the method to my madness will be revealed. So this is the wideband O2 sensor that goes to the AEM gauge, and since I have these extra bung ports on my downpipe, all I need to do is remove one of those bolts, add this one in, and that makes adding a wideband very simple. I went ahead and removed a bolt from my downpipe, and the next thing I'm going to do is use some anti-seize on the threads of this, and then thread in this O2 sensor. One of the reasons why I decided to go with the AEM wideband is because you do not have to calibrate this in free air. I know with the innovative, I think it's the LC2, you have to calibrate the wideband sensor in clean air first, and then you can install it. But the AEM stuff, you can just install it and hook up the gauge and you're good to go. And for those who don't know, this is an O2 sensor socket. It is got a cutout so you can slide over the top, over the wire, and be able to tighten things down. Once you got that snapped into place, the O2 sensor is installed and is ready for the interior line to be done, but we have one more sensor to hook up while we're in the hood. So I know it looks like a jumbled mess right now, but I was able to route the connector for the boost sensor around the heat shields and to try to keep it away from the turbo as much as possible. And that last connection just connects onto here. But I think I'm going to go ahead, put the battery box back in, kind of put everything back together underneath here, and after that I will move to the interior. There's how the setup looks now. Got my line going to my reciprocator valve. This is my incoming vacuum and my boost sensor, and it's getting pretty late in the day, so I think I am going to wrap this up for now. Sorry about that. I wanted to do everything in one go, but it looks like I'm going to have to do a bit of some wiring on the inside, so I'm just going to split this up into 2 videos. I'm going to wrap it up there for today. There's a couple supplies that I'm going to have to order, get in, or hopefully I can just go locally and find some and I can get started on that next video pretty quick. But enough of that. Hopefully you all liked the video. If you did, make sure to smash that thumbs up button. Make sure to smash subscribe. I got a lot of videos coming. I got some cool stuff that I've been working on. If you haven't been noticing on the website, I've added a couple new additions. As well, I have decided to start a Patreon account. There's a lot of cool things I want to be able to pull off this year. Some big projects. As well, I have decided to start selling merchandise, so I am expanding all over the place. So if you like what you see, why don't you drop me a buck on the Patreon, or buy a t-shirt, buy a hat, and it will help me make more videos for you guys. So I'm going to put the interior of the car back together. I'm tired. I've been out here a very long time. I will say that this new lighting setup works great. The sun's actually going down, and usually around this point in time the light would get bad even with the lights in the garage, but this new stuff is amazing. But I'm going to get to putting the car back together, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of my evening, and I will see you all on the next one.